Firstly, I think Graham is doing a great service in actually bringing the European crisis and all that that entails to our attention. I mean, the fact is that although our media are understandably preoccupied with the Middle East and Egypt and Libya at the moment and other international events, when they're not hitting the headlines, our press is obsessed with all these domestic issues, the pace of reduction of the deficit, the convulsions in the health service and the education sector, cutting down forests, the big society, that curious existential question which few of us understand. And if there's any attention to affairs in Europe, it's either Berlusconi or it's votes for prisoners, which of course has nothing to do with the European Union. So little attention is paid, I think shamefully, in our media to what is actually taking place in Europe at the moment. And the fact is that we are on the brink, I think, of momentous decisions on the governance of the Eurozone, led by Angela Merkel and Sarkozy. And we may well find at the European Heads of Government meeting on the 11th of March, there will be some pretty critical decisions taken, which have immense importance for both the economic and political future of the United Kingdom. But A, they're not really reported in our press. B, insofar as they are, it's in a sceptical and indeed hostile way. And what concerns me is that there are signs that our present coalition government will pursue an empty chair policy which will lead to the United Kingdom being even more marginalised and less influential in the governance of the Eurozone in days to come. So Graham does us a great service in bringing these issues to the forefront. Secondly, as you will see from Graham's book and what Graham will say, Graham is contributing an important analysis to the debate which is taking place, and he offers his own prescription. I mean, Eurozone leaders have said, and I quote, that they are ready to do whatever is required to ensure the stability of the euro area as a whole. And Graham and I last night heard the German ambassador in the Guildhall make a very good speech in which he made it quite clear, unequivocally clear, that Germany stands behind the euro. But what Graham, I think, in his book says is, do the leaders really appreciate the scale of what is required, and are they ready to take the measures necessary, the political and economic measures necessary to deal with it? For example, Graham says that, in his opinion, we could require a quadrupling of the EFSF, the European Financial Stability Mechanism. Will the Eurozone rise to this challenge? It is crucial to the future of this country, and I think it's very timely that you should produce your book now. So without more ado, may I hand over to you, Graham?
Well, thank you, Mr. Bryan. That's very kind, and I hope I can live up to the billing now. That's the next problem. But it was in December when I was reading, as I do, the communiques from the Heads of Government meeting, and then read the Heads of Government of the Eurozone, who met for the first time as the Heads of Government last December. And they came up with this formulation of that they would do whatever is necessary to preserve the euro. That, of course, was not reported in the UK media. You wouldn't expect it to be. It was only important. And I'm sorry to be sort of cynical about these things, but there is a very real problem that Bryan has alluded to. These things are happening. And when I read that piece in the very clear statement, completely underreported, non-reported, I thought I was going to do something about it. I decided I would write a book. So Sally, my wife, was kind enough to leave me after Christmas to sit down from the 27th of December and start writing. But one of the other things I looked at fairly early on was what the some of the heads of government had said in their New Year messages, and it's very interesting. Chancellor Merkel, the New Year message to the people: the euro forms the basis of our prosperity, Germany needs Europe and our common currency for our own well-being. And that's what the ambassador said in those terms last night. President Sarkozy, the end of the euro would be the end of Europe. I will oppose with all my might any step back that ignores 60 years of European construction. Europe is essential to our future, our identity and our values. I then looked up David Cameron's New Year message. And I gather by the laughter, you all realise he didn't mention the word Europe. Not at all. And yet the two biggest powers in Europe regard what's going on as being of existential importance, and we did not even mention it. So that is something which made me begin to think very carefully about what is the background. Why are those heads of government of the Eurozone, why are they saying such dramatic things? And will they follow it through? And I think again, to just quote, the real core of this, and Sarkozy really sort of gave the game away in a sense. If you go back to the very beginning, the foundation of Europe, and go back to the Schuman Declaration of the 9th of May 1950, and remember the 9th of May 2010, we had just had our general election and were debating coalition questions, and were therefore completely focused on that. That same weekend, the heads of government of the Eurozone and the European Union in general, but the Eurozone in particular, were locked in debates 60 years to the day after the Schuman Declaration about should they allow the euro to explode and what would be the consequences. They decided not to. I'll come back to that in a moment. But the Schuman Declaration, very interesting. Europe will not be made all at once or according to a single plan. It will be built through concrete achievements which first create a de facto solidarity. The coming together of the nations of Europe requires the elimination of the age-old opposition of France and Germany. Any action taken must in the first place concern these two countries. Well, they've had their ups and downs, but the Franco-German couple seem to be close to, we can debate how close at the moment, but they seem to be close to getting back completely in synchronization. That's most important. But the essence of what Schuman said, these concrete steps to create a de facto solidarity, that, frankly, is the single market. That's what it's all about.